Type 6. Reptilians. Another outstanding extraterrestrial race in this crew is described with the aid of Dean as humanoids with reptilian traits that are 6 to 8 feet tall. Reptilian extraterrestrial races have been described to be each native to Earth and additionally from different big-name systems. R.A. Boulay has significantly analyzed a range of ancient sources and argued that there is adequate proof to help the conclusion that a historical extraterrestrial race of reptilians inhabited the Earth and performed a position in the introduction of humanity. According to Thomas Costello, a former protection agent at Dulce, a site categorized as an underground facility involving a range of extraterrestrial races cooperating with a quantity of U.S. countrywide safety corporations, reptilians indigenous to Earth work by way of aspect with people in different extraterrestrial races. Some reptilians are native to this planet. The ruling caste of aliens are reptilian. They have been made a historic race on Earth, residing underground. Reptilians rightly think about themselves, native Terrans. Perhaps they are the ones we name the fallen angels. Perhaps not. Either way, we are considered the squatters on Earth. Since I was once the senior security technician at that base, I had to talk with them on a day-to-day basis. If there were any issues with protection or video cameras, I was once the one they called. It was once the reptilian working caste that normally did the bodily labor in the lower tiers of Dulce. According to Costello, the lower degrees of Dulce worried great human rights abuses on captive civilians by means of joint extraterrestrial human assignment leaders. William Hamilton, a highly revered UFO researcher, researched each the Dulce base facility and Thomas Costello's claims and credibility and determined them to be especially plausible. It might also be unpalatable to digest or agree with Thomas's story. In fact, it looks like a phase of a receding nightmare. This is proof that something unusual does go on at Dulce. Does Thomas have the answer? There can also be a horrible fact hidden at the back of our preserving with phenomena of UFO sightings, abductions, and animal mutilations. Our authorities' brain groups have had an ongoing watchful eye on all UFO things to do for many, many years now. This wonderful phenomenon ought to have been an exquisite explanation. We may additionally be solely one outpost in a sizable interstellar empire. In addition to Hamilton's conclusion about Costello's claims and credibility, I have written a full-size document of the Dulce base and discovered the proof is very steady with Costello's claims regarding human rights violations involving a range of extraterrestrials, U.S. countrywide protection agencies, and corporations. Linda Moulton Howe, an investigative journalist and UFO researcher, interviewed a contactee abductee with the aid of Jim Sparks, who claims to have met with a wide variety of reptilians indigenous to Earth. According to Sparks, indigenous Earth-based reptilians have their very own special way of life and have interacted with humanity for millennia, and each assisted humanity and used it as a resource. Sparks used to be informed by way of the reptilians that they have reached a wide variety of secret agreements with countrywide governments. Sparks's claims are very regular with the trip of some other contactee, OK, who claims to have met with a woman reptilian, Lacerta, and interviewed her on a wide variety of events and allotted the interviews as the Lacerta files. According to Lacerta, reptilians who have advanced on Earth are awesome to off-world reptilians who periodically go to Earth. While there is some debate over the credibility of OK, the testimony is coherent and steady with Sparks and different lookup on the reptilian species, and well worth thinking about to higher apprehend reptilian activities. According to Lacerta, the reptilians' disposition toward humanity is cautious, considering the fact that they view human beings as a primitive species that is the property of different extraterrestrial races that seeded the planet. The Earth-based, totally reptilians, in accordance to Sparks, harvest people in a way that does not task the human presence on the planet. This suggests that the reptilians are following agreements imposed upon them through extra-effective, off-world, extraterrestrial races. In summary, in accordance to the whistleblower and contactee stories mentioned, as a result, it can be concluded that the indigenous Earth-based reptilians are worried in things to do such as manipulating human elites and monetary institutions, influencing spiritual faith systems, militarism, and altering the records of human civilization. The systematic world troubles, the indigenous reptilians, make a contribution to encompass covert human rights abuses, elite corruption and domination, manipulation of the media and corporations, divisive spiritual dogma, historic amnesia, and a subculture of violence. Type 7. Alpha Draconian. The most corrupt, hostile, and vicious type of aliens are the Alpha Draconian. These aliens are believed to have come from the Alpha Draconis and are characterized by giant reptilian features. These aliens are about 14 to 22 feet tall and weigh approximately 1,800 pounds or more. They believe themselves to be the rightful owners of the humans who are lesser evolved beings, as per their standards. Type 8. Syrians. In addition to the above extraterrestrials, there are a number of human-looking extraterrestrials from Sirius B, which is a part of a binary star system. Alex Collier describes extraterrestrials from Sirius B as follows. The cultures around Sirius B have a very controlling vibration. Some of the humans are red, beige, and black-skinned. The planets around Sirius B are very arid and generally occupied by reptilian and aquatic-type beings. The society is more obsessed with political thought patterns instead of spiritual attributes. Amazingly, an African tribe called the Dogon had an intricate understanding of this elliptical orbit of Sirius B around their main star, Sirius A. This knowledge was apparently given to their ancestors by advanced extraterrestrials from the Sirius star system. The Dogon described the Syrians as amphibians from a planet around Sirius B, which is consistent with Collier's claims that one of the planets around Sirius B is generally occupied by reptilian and aquatic-type beings. The racial characteristics of the humans from Sirius B suggest that they are descendants from the star system Vega, which will be described later. Preston Nichols claims to be a whistleblower who participated in a clandestine project at Montauk that involved a number of extraterrestrial groups. An independent investigator found Nichols to be a very reliable and solid witness, and that for myself, his information checked out across the board, right down the line, to the extent that it was at all possible to verify particular information. The humans from Sirius B, according to Nichols, played a role in providing exotic technology, such as time, interdimensional travel to clandestine government agencies involved in both the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk project. In conclusion, this human extraterrestrial group from Sirius B is mainly active in technology exchange programs that have assisted the government in the acquisition of various technologies that have had military applications. This appears to be aimed at promoting military cooperation to potential extraterrestrial threats against Earth, both through subversion and external intervention. The global problems that the humanoids from Sirius B have contributed to include covert weapons research, use of exotic technologies, and abuse of civilians used in time travel experiments. Type 9. The Anunnaki. The Anunnaki is reported to be a race of giant humanoids who have played a role in seeding the Earth with humans, and who periodically return to the Earth to determine how effectively Earth's resources have been utilized by humanity, and those extraterrestrial races playing a role in managing us. These are described by the Sumerians as the Anunnaki from the world Nibiru in the extensive cuneiform texts translated by Zachariah Stitchin. These giant humanoids apparently form the chief founding extraterrestrial race that were the gods described in ancient mythologies and religions. According to the accounts of the Sumerians, the Anunnaki's chief god is Anu, and the pantheon of Anunnaki, as described by Stitchin, form key figures in the hierarchy that secretly oversee management of humanity and the planet Nibiru, which periodically returns to the vicinity of Earth. According to Alex Collier, this is how the Anunnaki, or the Nibirians, originated as a species. A very long time ago, colonies on Sirius B and the Orion group were having trouble with each other. In order to bring peace, there was a marriage between members of each group. The woman came from the Orion group, where the hierarchy includes a queen, the matriarchal paradigm. The male was from Sirius B. Both members were considered royalty of their respective line. When these two came together in marriage, their offspring had genetics from both lines. Because of these genetics, the new race that was created was given the name Nibiru, which I am told by Moraine of the Andromedan Council is the Orion tongue, meaning for divided amongst two. This is who they literally are, a cross between those from Sirius B and a race from the Orion system. They formed a new tribe, which has continued to flourish for at least 100 of thousands of years. So they are a tribe that has become a race. It appears that the Anunnaki's mode of operation is to leave primitive species such as humanity to flourish on the planet's surface, while more advanced races, such as the reptilians, form a kind of planetary management team to harvest humanity in a way that serves the long-term interest of the Anunnaki, who return periodically to assess their human experiment. It therefore appears that the Anunnaki form a kind of regulatory agent to ensure that the Earth's resources and humanity in general are responsibly managed. The Anunnaki have a relationship with the Earth-based reptilians based on whatever historical agreements they reached over humanity will be managed. It is also likely that the Anunnaki have some form of agreement with the Draconians over how the latter intervene in worlds, where the Anunnaki have established human experiments. Finally, it is also likely that some members of the Anunnaki have remained secretly on Earth and therefore have played a role in the creation of elite human organizations to manage human affairs. These agreements and/or secret control of human elite groups indirectly make the Anunnaki a part of the military-industrial extraterrestrial complex. According to Sergeant Dean, the Anunnaki are major players in human affairs, and this is likely to become more significant as their home planet Nibiru returns to the vicinity of Earth. It is the apparent return of the Anunnaki that appears to be a wild card that concerns national security agencies that are unaware of how this race of extraterrestrials will impact on global humanity and the military-industrial extraterrestrial complex, which was created to manage extraterrestrial affairs. The main activities of the Anunnaki are to influence the long-term human evolution through elite groups, systems, and institutions, and by influencing human consciousness. They appear to be in competitions with the Draconians for control of Earth. The main global problems they contribute to include elite domination, religious fundamentalism, a patriarchal global culture, and a culture of violence. Type 10. Arcturians. The final extraterrestrial race to be examined due to their significance are the Arcturians, who are described as once having seeded the Earth with their members and presumably peacefully coexisted with other races. According to Andrews, in antiquity, this planet was divided into sectors among 4 different groups: blondes, greys, large lizard-like beings from the Capella system, and beings from the Arcturus system. Andrews goes on to describe the Arcturians as currently playing an observer role in the current battle between extraterrestrial groups over Earth and her population. Collier describes the Arcturians as also being one of the races interacting with Earth and that they are trying to help. According to the contactee, Adrian, the Arcturians are the extraterrestrial race most responsible for crop circles. He argues that the crop circles are intended both to inspire humans with the possibility of extraterrestrial communications and to warn negative extraterrestrials of the consequences of their actions to control and manipulate humanity. Here is a more detailed description of the Arcturians given by Collier. This group of beings settled in the constellation of Arcturus. These races of humanity are very private, and for very specific reasons, they do not get involved with Earth. They think of themselves as healers. They carry a long, strong pride of technology in the arts of physical healing and emotional and spiritual bodies. They have been known to intervene in the ancient past and to help resolve very serious conflicts in our area of the universe by sharing their unique ability to show others how to integrate their belief systems and feelings to resolve conflict. They can be very silent and can and will keep very much to themselves. They as a group have done much to help raise the overall levels of consciousness in our universe. Most information on the Arcturians comes from those claiming to have telepathically communicated with them. For example, Dr. Norma Milonovich, in her book, We, the Arcturians, describes her communication with the Arcturians through a form of computer-aided automatic writing. She claims the Arcturians are here to assist Earth as it enters a new age of spirituality. They cannot interfere with the free will or decision-making process of any Earthling, but are here to educate and help raise the vibrations of all who choose to journey to the new dimension the Earth is entering. The Arcturians are described as having a highly developed spiritual culture and technological sophistication that gives them great influence in the galaxy. Another individual, who telepathically communicates with the Arcturians, claims they have the following mission on Earth. The Arcturians are the overall guides or administrators of the contact experience. They have a desire to generally see this go well, to see you learn as much as possible by the process, and to assist you in any way they can. However, their affinity is to the future of the planet as a whole, and they tend to have a hands-off approach as much as possible. They will tend to do the least amount of work for the greatest effect. You'll find them to be efficient and quite creative in this. They may be useful to you in learning how to play, how to wait for the right timing, and how to do the very few important things you must do to succeed. The Arcturians' main activity therefore appears to be one of integrating spiritual values with advanced technologies, in providing strategic advice in transforming planetary systems and inspiring humanity with the possibilities of extraterrestrial contact. The global solutions the Arcturians contribute to include transparent and accountable global governance, integrating global financial, political, and societal systems, helping humanity coordinate effectively with all extraterrestrial races, in diplomacy and conflict resolution.
Non-human entities that have an agenda and no good will for mankind. It started before the flood, and now it's coming to its total fruition in our time. The Bible, I believe, teaches that these are the remains of those hybrids that were part human, part fallen angel. As I watched that, I realized, oh my God. In many of the texts, it actually is describing cloning. It's talking about gene splicing, bodies that are celestial. They are going to be brought back into a physical realm again. The resurrected body that we're promised is flesh and bone. There's a historical narrative that exists in the Bible. It's all there.
In 1974, we sent a message to space and received a reply in 2001. In an effort to discover intelligent alien life, Carl Sagan sent a transmission known as the Arecibo message into space via radio waves. The message addressed to intelligent extraterrestrial beings was the most powerful radio transmission ever transmitted to space by humanity. By comparison, the signal sent into space was 1,000,000 times stronger than a typical television broadcast, aimed at a group of stars located more than 25,000 light-years away. The pictorial message was sent in the hope that one day we would receive a similar response from another civilization. The radio signal included the location of our planet Earth within our star system, the basics of mathematics and science, and the type of antenna that was used to relay the signal, all characteristics that an intelligent alien civilization should understand. The message prepared by Carl Sagan and his colleagues also included information about our species, our music. Even our physical appearance was included in the radio message, as well as in our DNA codes. A few years after the signal was sent, people forgot about it. Then 27 years later, already in 2001, a crop circle appeared shaking the scientific community. A pattern appeared in a farm field, right next to the UK's largest telescope and observatory, the Chilbolton, where the world's largest fully addressable weather radar is located. And the surprise was that it looked like a response to the transmission sent way back in 1974. It was considered by many to be one of the most impressive and important crop circles ever to appear on our planet, as this circle, unlike others, carried a message direct from space. While many dismissed the crop circle near Chilbolton as yet another hoax, the analysis showed that it carried a message, or rather a response from another civilization, describing a different solar system in the universe, the emitter image, non-human DNA, and some microwave antennae. The Chilbolton crop circle was the final answer we had always hoped for. Incredibly, just a year before the extraterrestrial message was discovered, in the year 2000, a circle of unknown shape appeared alongside Chilbolton. A year later, the puzzle was put together, and we could see that the crop circle that appeared in 2000 was, in fact, a representation of the microwave telescope used to transmit the signal to us. In 2001, 3 days after the mysterious answer appeared alongside Chilbolton, another crop circle was found depicting what appeared to be an alien face. According to the library playaids.net portal, the decimal equivalents of the binary code were not modified concerning the original Arecibo, but the atomic numbers of the elements that make up the basis of life had been altered. Silicon, an element with an atomic number of 14, was added in precisely the correct sequence, between oxygen, atomic number 8, and phosphorus, atomic number 15. In 1969, the late Ben Volcani, a renowned microbiologist at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography, discovered the crucial role of silicon in carbon-based life. His work and that of his colleagues, such as Charles Mahard, also at Scripps, and Edith Carlisle in the 1970s at UCLA, demonstrated that the presence of silicon is critical in a variety of terrestrial life forms, as well as in the structure of human cells. Example, in the union of cartilage and mineral aspects of bones. It remains to be debated whether the crop circle that appeared alongside Chilbolton was, in fact, an extraterrestrial response. However, many people are firmly convinced that not only is the 2001 Chilbolton an actual message from another intelligent alien civilization in the universe, but we receive similar messages almost every day.
The darkest theory is one that Lazar talked about. He said when he was working on these back-engineered crafts, what they use us as is vessels. We hold souls, and that this is essentially a farm. They develop souls through us. When we die, it transcends and becomes whatever they are in whatever space they exist in.
That's what Bob said.
Talking about it, that this is one of the crazier stories that has to do with religion that's attached to the UFO phenomenon. Some of these people think these things have always been here and they're a part of our history, and that this idea that they're coming here on these metal crafts from another planet is not necessarily the whole picture. That it might be some of that. If we get to the point where we have created intelligence, digital intelligence that exists in some sort of a physical form.
You know, they talk about some of the stories in the ancient texts and in the Bible. They, you know, they don't have the words to explain like what a spaceship is. It's like a chariot in the sky.
Ezekiel.
Yeah.
We have a man on our team who was on a retrieval operation. He was on one operation where we stunned one of these extraterrestrial vehicles. And it didn't crash. It got stunned and landed out there on the range, now the Nevada test range. It began to come back to life, and an opening came out of it, and it looked like a fruit roll-up came down. And a couple of extraterrestrials emerged. He literally was in 3 or 4 feet of them. At that point, that craft was being checked by helicopters in the air, as well as one of these ARVs, man-made ones, the triangular. This thing began to sort of glow, like reddish, and come to life. Boom. Our aircraft took off. Now the boots on the ground there and the choppers on the ground, after a few minutes, they were all teleported back to the helo base instantly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They weren't harmed. None of them were harmed. But apparently this whole event convinced this particular operator to get out of that system, because what he sensed from these ETs was that they were completely benign, very much here to help us, and we were doing horrible things to them.
The reptilian hybrids have been known to shapeshift temporarily into their reptilian form. So that's happened with 3 of them whom I know about. One of them, a beautiful hybrid living in England, her name is Charmaine. The way that she got confirmation that she is a hybrid was having an encounter with some of her reptilian extraterrestrials, and she has encounters with other types as well, and genetics from other types. But in one encounter when she was about age 27 with her reptilian extraterrestrials, they helped her to shapeshift into her total, pure reptilian form.
And she can do that, goes back and forth?
And she can go back and forth as she pleases. Mostly she's human.
Yeah.
And but when she shapeshifted into her reptilian form, she was absolutely delighted. Now, most of us might be rather horrified at the thought, but she was delighted because she had always felt some reptilian in her.
Did you see the interview with Bill Gates' ex-wife? And she was being asked about, hey, so Melinda, you know, we've read and you've expressed that one of the reasons why, you know, the marriage didn't work out is the close relationship Bill had with Jeffrey Epstein. Was that one of the reasons? She says, yes, it was one of the. You haven't seen this?
No, she said yes.
She said that was one of the main
60 minutes.
Yeah.
And then she says, she continues. She says, what was it that upset you about him? Is it the fact that he had one too many visits to the island? She pauses. She says, yes, but those are questions you're going to have to ask him.
Yeah.
So guess what they do?
Answer.
They ask him.
Uh-huh.
And they say, so Bill, right here, do you have it? Right there. Just
That's got to be tough.
Yeah, so watch this.
Not that tough, though, because she's crazy rich. So
Oh.
you know what?
It was also
I'll bang
widely
Bill Gates.
reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing, it was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. No.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And you made that clear to him?
I made that clear to him. I also met Jeffrey Epstein exactly
Watch
one
this.
time.
Watch
Did you?
this.
Yes, because I wanted to see who this man was. And I regretted it from the second I stepped in the door. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterwards. So, you know, my heart breaks for these young women because that's how I felt. And here I'm an older woman. My God, I feel terrible for those young women. It's awful.
You felt that the moment you walked in? I didn't
He was
realize
awful.
that. Yeah. And you shared that with Bill, and he still continued to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Okay.
Classy
But I made
answer.
very clear
And I'll
how
tell you
I-
something about women. Women, I believe, can sense a bad dude like that.
That's
they
crazy.
can feel it. My mother's amazing at that. My mother, I'm telling you, has antenna. My mother has saved my dad from going into business deals
Really?
Dude, she can look at a dude and go, that guy's a bad guy. I got a bad feeling.
Wow.
And that's how women had to survive. I think women can pick up on energy that we don't, because we're not afraid. I don't walk around worrying about my physical safety. But there are women, I think women are way better. The Israelis use women as bodyguards because they found that if you can teach a woman how to shoot straight, no problem. And there are some badass women. So they found that women, they grow up from the age of about 12 years old. They have to be, I see it with my daughter. They're very aware of danger. They're very aware. Why is that guy over there? Why is he looking at me for too long? Yeah. What's going over here? They can just sense these things. Okay. I wrote a pilot with a woman long time ago who ran a brothel. I wanted to do this thing. It was called the Rub Club. And
great name, by the way.
It's a great name.
Love it.
It's a great name. I just didn't. It didn't.
Coming to Davos next
well.
year. Yeah.
But she was amazing because she would say that when they would come in, she would hug a guy. So she would hug. So the guy'd come in.
Hourglass.
She would hug him. Yeah. She would hug him. And then her friend would hug the guy from behind. They'd be like, hi. And what they were doing was checking for weapons. Wow. Right? So you push your body against him, make sure he doesn't have a gun or a knife because you're going to get robbed or whatever. That's the first thing they would do. The second thing they would do is this woman could tell immediately if this guy was a freak. She could tell immediately if he was dangerous. All of them could because they had so much experience with this. Like the way he walked in, was he moving his arms? Was he very stiff? What was his body temperature? So, when somebody like Melinda Gates sees a guy like that and she goes, I had a bad feeling, man, listen to that. My dad was going to go into business with this guy, right? And, they're playing golf. And the guy, nobody was looking. And he kicked his ball. Oh. Now, I cheat at golf all the time. And I'm going to lie about my score 100%. But you're going to know I'm lying. You're going to see me cheat. I'm not going to actually go. This guy looked around and he just touched it like that. My mother saw that. My mother goes, if you put this money into this deal, I'm going to divorce you. What are we talking about? She goes, I watched him cheat. And he goes, everybody cheats at golf. He goes, no. Nobody cheats when they're really trying to get away with it. Anyway, long story short, he ended up in jail. I'll tell you his name.
Oh, shit. I think what you're referring to
you can look it up.
is women's intuition. They do have that sense. And I think you highlighted it is that as guys, if we're going into business with somebody or networking with somebody, it's, yeah, whatever, bro, I'm a dude, whatever.
Yeah.
A girl, literally, once she walks out the door, like we do the whole, okay, phone, wallet, keys, balls, got it. All right, good to go. A girl's like, all right, I got my mace. I've got my purse. Like there's another level that women have to go to for safety and security, 100%. And that intuition since caveman days has to be a part of it. Great point.
And you know it.
Here's my question though. So this happened fairly recent, right? But the Epstein thing, he already suicided himself in jail and everything. What do you think was her motivation to finally? Because dude, this relationship with Epstein was way back in the day. What do you think was the deciding factor for her to say, let me open my mouth now because they got Ghislaine and she might open her mouth or what?
First of all, you're thinking. Getting a divorce is easy. What do you think a divorce is? You think a divorce is okay, yeah, no problem, like a breakup. We're good. Scored away. Yeah. All right, all the best to you, bro. Okay, tell your mom, awesome, loved her cooking. But I'm sorry, man, it is what it is, and my dad's going to miss you. He loves you. Good luck. I'll see you at the, whatever. That's
most
not how
casual
this works,
divorce ever.
But divorces, take years before a divorce happens. When a divorce happens, a divorce been in the works for 5 years, 3 years, 8 years, sometimes 10 years, right? How many times? Like I'll sit. Over the years, we run an insurance company, so we see a lot of people being married and some that work, some that don't work. 22 years, you watch these guys and. Having been married for 13 and a half years myself, 4 kids, families, that's a very hard thing to do. But you'll see if there is kids involved, if there's a charity involved,
and if
there's, business involved, if there is other responsibilities involved, if there's certain legacies involved, if there's dirt on both sides involved, if there is, it's a very, it's what it's like? It's kind of like business partners. You start a company together with your best friend. Hey, Johnny, let's do it. 50-50, bro. Let's go take over the world. Awesome. Then you start the business. Mm-hmm. And then 6 months into it, he's like, hey, bro, just want to let you know I'm going to take the month of August off because the wife and I, we want to go to such and such. What do you mean? Yeah, bro. I mean, I'm going to go. Dude, what are you talking about? We just started a business. I know, but it's our business. I'm going to take August off, and then for Christmas and New Year's, we're going to Davos, to go out there for vacation. So then you're like, all right, hey, by the way, I think we need to hire that 2-person, but you spend $300,000 to hire 2 executives. Dude, that's a waste of money. Why would we do that? A year, 2 years later, like, oh, shit, I made the biggest mistake of my life. Your best friend officially became your best enemy. But try breaking up to 50-50. Good luck. You know how many mediations I've done as a consultant between 2 business partners?
Really?
We had one upstairs just a couple months ago. They're sitting. It's just like a marriage divorce. So I said, so can I do something here? Yes. I said, first of all, tell me what you respect and why you guys went into business together. So I write it down. You'll feel the same way? Yeah. Okay, what got to the point of you guys not wanting to be in business together? Can you tell them exactly how you feel? Do you receive it? Can you tell them exactly how you feel? And then boom, 0 to 100 in no time. And then they're going. And you got to try to figure out how to bring them down and say, can we get it on paper right now that these are the terms? This is what we're agreeing on. Lawyers, boom, 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 boom. You're hoping one is willing to sell at $1.2 million his shares to the other guy, and the guy's going to run with it. Or, hey, I'm going to leave. You keep it. I'm going to start a direct competitor to you, and you cannot come after me.
Oh, wow.
And I'm taking 3 of the employees. You can keep everybody else. It is very, very ugly. 50-50 partnerships are very hard to break apart. Divorces are the same exact way. So this divorce with Melinda and Bill probably was in the works for 15 years.
Do you know how they did it? Do you know the process? I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think I can say it. So his best friend, they got on a boat together, all of them, all 3 of them, and with his best friend, and they basically, the best friend mediated the whole thing. They were on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Bill and Melinda Gates and the best friend.
That is correct, sir. That is
good for them.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.
This is Robert Maxim, a NASA employee in the 1960s. His office was 3 doors down from what they called the imaging lab. He testifies that is where they would scrub the images. He also has NASA images of the moon. In this first image, we can see the Manilus lunar crater on the moon and what appears to be a ship inside the crater. That thing is estimated to be 10 miles long. Can you see the outline of a ship? In the next image, there are at least 5 motherships sitting inside another crater, and these are estimated to over 20 miles long. Here, another very large mothership parked on the moon surface. Almost looks like an earthly submarine, doesn't it? And another. More ships parked on the surface, and another. What exactly are these crafts doing on the moon? These are NASA or, never a straight answer, images before being tampered with. This was in 1962, folks. Still believe we are alone? Let us know in the comments.
J-Rod is an alien who allegedly worked at Area 51 over a period of years to help reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology.
A number of government whistleblowers have come forward with the story that J-Rod was first discovered inside the cockpit of a downed alien craft. One man who claimed to have worked with J-Rod is Captain Bill Uhouse, a former Air Force test pilot who was assigned to Area 51 in the mid-1960s.
We had a long period of introduction into meeting, an alien. And I called him J-Rod. That's the name that the linguist gave him. And he would talk, but he'd sound just like, if you spoke, he'd sound like you. He's like one of these, a parrot, but he'd try and answer your question, Basically, it was only engineering advice or science advice.
Told us about a film of a landing of alien crafts at Holloman Air Force Base about 3 years earlier.
What did you see, Mr. Shuttle?
I saw footage of 3 disc-shaped crafts. One of the craft landed and 2 of them went away.
Why did it land?
It appeared to be in trouble because it oscillated all the way down to the ground. However, it did land on 3 pods. A sliding door opened, a ramp was extended, and out came 3 aliens.
What did they look like?
Well, they were human-sized. They had odd gray complexion and a pronounced nose. They wore tight-fitting jumpsuits, thin headdresses that appeared to be communication devices, and in their hands they held a translator, I was told. A Holloman base commander and other Air Force officers went out to meet them.
And you actually saw these aliens on the film?
Yes.
This film footage sounded very, very special, and we wanted to use it as the ending of our television special.
Did you? Was it in your special?
Well, although the Pentagon had been very, very cooperative all the way, at the last minute the film was confiscated and we lost the whole finale of our show. But what I saw and heard was enough to convince me that, you know, the phenomenon of UFOs is real, very real.
You have to be skeptical at somebody who's utilizing cobalt mines in the middle of Africa in order to power Tesla batteries. You also have to look at Tesla. Tesla is pretty much a surveillance vehicle at this point. It's powered by electricity, which could be turned off at any moment. In fact, in China right now, if you have a poor social credit score, you can't charge your Tesla. What happens when that gets introduced in the West and everybody has an electric vehicle? Think about it. New pandemic, new virus. Oh, well, you don't want to comply? Well, we're tracking through your car. Your car has Wi-Fi. You went 5 kilometers outside of your house. Turn off the car.
These burning objects were captured entering the atmosphere over Miami.
What is that? Oh my God! What is that?
They appeared to change direction halfway through the video. Is this space debris alien?
I was tracking a light in the sky. I couldn't tell on the camera if it was a satellite or not. And I'm tracking this light. And as far as I was concerned while it was happening, that was it. It was just one light. And I was looking at the footage on the computer. I noticed I had caught the most amazing thing ever. And that was very, very definitive to me, seeing that footage. This light comes from the top left corner of the screen, zips down, and then zips back up to this object I was tracking and pulls these maneuvers that I've never seen anything pull before in the sky. And yeah, that really sold me on it. Because I was honestly starting to feel like I was losing my mind, and I was really questioning everything. I was starting to feel like I was crazy. Like, am I just filming satellites? I don't know. Like, you really start wondering and start questioning yourself, and it's been really tough in that regard. But every now and then you'll get stuff like this on video, and it's like, okay, yeah, no, there's actually something here. There's actually something here. And then you go over everything that had happened previously, and when you look at the big picture, you can start piecing it all together, that something is actually going on, and you're not going crazy. And boy, I'll tell you, you really do need moments like that where you capture really good stuff on video, because if you don't, if you just capture like questionable things on video that could be something, you will start to go crazy.
Actually, CERN is dealing with radionuclear research, but it is more than that, because there are lots of physicians, I know some, they're doing very strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out. It's physicists from the CERN who told me this.
They've testified to beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes, they have. Apparently, in the bottom of the CERN, this portal, this door, where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions. They say there are 17 different dimensions of reality. That's what those physicists say. Some others say there are more dimensions. You know, they had a being, they did not tell me more, who came that doesn't resemble a human. And then they had another one, and they have a proof because they left a scarf. They left a scarf. And now, when you look at what is going on in the CERN, there is a fight from some of the military agencies, intel. They say that there is a fight on time. They're trying to change time. I'm just saying that because as a scientist, you cannot not say something so important.
You do not want to believe. You are sleeping. You do not want to believe. You are sleeping. You do not want to believe. You are sleeping.
Type 6, Reptilians. Another outstanding extraterrestrial race in this crew is described with the aid of Dean as humanoids with reptilian traits that are 6 to 8 feet tall. Reptilian extraterrestrial races have been described to be each native to Earth and additionally from different big-name systems. R.A. Boulay has significantly analyzed a range of ancient sources and argued that there is adequate proof to help the conclusion that a historical extraterrestrial race of reptilians inhabited the Earth and performed a position in the introduction of humanity. According to Thomas Costello, a former protection agent at Dulce, a site categorized as an underground facility involving a range of extraterrestrial races cooperating with a quantity of U.S. countrywide safety corporations, reptilians indigenous to Earth work by way of aspect with people in different extraterrestrial races. Some reptilians are native to this planet. The ruling caste of aliens are reptilian. They have been made a historic race on Earth, residing underground. Reptilians rightly think about themselves, native Terrans. Perhaps they are the ones we name the fallen angels. Perhaps not. Either way, we are considered the squatters on Earth. Since I was once the senior security technician at that base, I had to talk with them on a day-to-day basis. If there were any issues with protection or video cameras, I was once the one they called. It was once the reptilian working caste that normally did the bodily labor in the lower tiers of Dulce. According to Costello, the lower degrees of Dulce worried great human rights abuses on captive civilians by means of joint extraterrestrial human assignment leaders. William Hamilton, a highly revered UFO researcher, researched each the Dulce base facility and Thomas Costello's claims and credibility and determined them to be especially plausible. It might also be unpalatable to digest or agree with Thomas's story. In fact, it looks like a phase of a receding nightmare. This is proof that something unusual does go on at Dulce. Does Thomas have the answer? There can also be a horrible fact hidden at the back of our preserving with phenomena of UFO sightings, abductions, and animal mutilations. Our authorities' brain groups have had an ongoing watchful eye on all UFO things to do for many, many years now. This wonderful phenomenon ought to have been an exquisite explanation. We may additionally be solely one outpost in a sizable interstellar empire. In addition to Hamilton's conclusion about Costello's claims and credibility, I have written a full-size document of the Dulce base and discovered the proof is very steady with Costello's claims regarding human rights violations involving a range of extraterrestrials, U.S. countrywide protection agencies, and corporations. Linda Moulton Howe, an investigative journalist and UFO researcher, interviewed a contactee, abductee, with the aid of Jim Sparks, who claims to have met with a wide variety of reptilians indigenous to Earth. According to Sparks, indigenous Earth-based reptilians have their very own special way of life and have interacted with humanity for millennia, and each assisted humanity and used it as a resource. Sparks used to be informed by way of the reptilians that they have reached a wide variety of secret agreements with countrywide governments. Sparks's claims are very regular with the trip of some other contactee, OK, who claims to have met with a woman reptilian, Lacerta, and interviewed her on a wide variety of events and allotted the interviews as the Lacerta files. According to Lacerta, reptilians who have advanced on Earth are awesome to off-world reptilians who periodically go to Earth. While there is some debate over the credibility of OK, the testimony is coherent and steady with Sparks and different lookup on the reptilian species, and well worth thinking about to higher apprehend reptilian activities. According to Lacerta, the reptilians' disposition toward humanity is cautious, considering the fact that they view human beings as a primitive species that is the property of different extraterrestrial races that seeded the planet. The Earth-based totally reptilians, in accordance to Sparks, harvest people in a way that does not task the human presence on the planet. This suggests that the reptilians are following agreements imposed upon them through extra-effective, off-world, extraterrestrial races. In summary, in accordance to the whistleblower and contactee stories mentioned, as a result, it can be concluded that the indigenous Earth-based reptilians are worried in things to do such as manipulating human elites and monetary institutions, influencing spiritual faith systems, militarism, and altering the records of human civilization. The systematic world troubles, the indigenous reptilians, make a contribution to encompass covert human rights abuses, elite corruption and domination, manipulation of the media and corporations, divisive spiritual dogma, historic amnesia, and a subculture of violence. Type 7, Alpha Draconian. The most corrupt, hostile, and vicious type of aliens are the Alpha Draconian. These aliens are believed to have come from the Alpha Draconis and are characterized by giant reptilian features. These aliens are about 14 to 22 feet tall and weigh approximately 1,800 pounds or more. They believe themselves to be the rightful owners of the humans who are lesser evolved beings as per their standards. Type 8. Syrians. In addition to the above extraterrestrials, there are a number of human-looking extraterrestrials from Sirius B, which is a part of a binary star system. Alex Collier describes extraterrestrials from Sirius B as follows. The cultures around Sirius B have a very controlling vibration. Some of the humans are red, beige, and black-skinned. The planets around Sirius B are very arid and generally occupied by reptilian and aquatic-type beings. The society is more obsessed with political thought patterns instead of spiritual attributes. Amazingly, an African tribe called the Dogon had an intricate understanding of this elliptical orbit of Sirius B around their main star, Sirius A. This knowledge was apparently given to their ancestors by advanced extraterrestrials from the Sirius star system. The Dogon described the Syrians as amphibians from a planet around Sirius B, which is consistent with Collier's claims that one of the planets around Sirius B is generally occupied by reptilian and aquatic-type beings. The racial characteristics of the humans from Sirius B suggest that they are descendants from the star system Vega, which will be described later. Preston Nichols claims to be a whistleblower who participated in a clandestine project at Montauk that involved a number of extraterrestrial groups. An independent investigator found Nichols to be a very reliable and solid witness, and that for myself, his information checked out across the board, right down the line, to the extent that it was at all possible to verify particular information. The humans from Sirius B, according to Nichols, played a role in providing exotic technology such as time, interdimensional travel to clandestine government agencies involved in both the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk project. In conclusion, this human extraterrestrial group from Sirius B is mainly active in technology exchange programs that have assisted the government in the acquisition of various technologies that have had military applications. This appears to be aimed at promoting military cooperation to potential extraterrestrial threats against Earth, both through subversion and external intervention. The global problems that the humanoids from Sirius B have contributed to include covert weapons research, use of exotic technologies, and abuse of civilians used in time travel experiments. Type 9. The Anunnaki. The Anunnaki is reported to be a race of giant humanoids who have played a role in seeding the Earth with humans, and who periodically return to the Earth to determine how effectively Earth's resources have been utilized by humanity, and those extraterrestrial races playing a role in managing us. These are described by the Sumerians as the Anunnaki from the world Nibiru in the extensive cuneiform texts translated by Zachariah Stitchin. These giant humanoids apparently form the chief founding extraterrestrial race that were the gods described in ancient mythologies and religions. According to the accounts of the Sumerians, the Anunnaki's chief god is Anu, and the pantheon of Anunnaki, as described by Stitchin, form key figures in the hierarchy that secretly oversee management of humanity and the planet Nibiru, which periodically returns to the vicinity of Earth. According to Alex Collier, this is how the Anunnaki, or the Nibirians, originated as a species. A very long time ago, colonies on Sirius B and the Orion group were having trouble with each other. In order to bring peace, there was a marriage between members of each group. The woman came from the Orion group, where the hierarchy includes a queen, the matriarchal paradigm. The male was from Sirius B. Both members were considered royalty of their respective line. When these two came together in marriage, their offspring had genetics from both lines. Because of these genetics, the new race that was created was given the name Nibiru, which I am told by Moraine of the Andromedan Council is the Orion tongue, meaning for divided amongst two. This is who they literally are, a cross between those from Sirius B and a race from the Orion system. They formed a new tribe, which has continued to flourish for at least 100 of thousands of years. So they are a tribe that has become a race. It appears that the Anunnaki's mode of operation is to leave primitive species such as humanity to flourish on the planet's surface, while more advanced races, such as the reptilians, form a kind of planetary management team to harvest humanity in a way that serves the long-term interest of the Anunnaki, who return periodically to access their human experiment. It therefore appears that the Anunnaki form a kind of regulatory agent to ensure that the Earth's resources and humanity in general are responsibly managed. The Anunnaki have a relationship with the Earth-based reptilians based on whatever historical agreements they reached over humanity will be managed. It is also likely that the Anunnaki have some form of agreement with the Draconians over how the latter intervene in worlds, where the Anunnaki have established human experiments. Finally, it is also likely that some members of the Anunnaki have remained secretly on Earth and therefore have played a role in the creation of elite human organizations to manage human affairs. These agreements and/or secret control of human elite groups indirectly make the Anunnaki a part of the military-industrial extraterrestrial complex. According to Sergeant Dean, the Anunnaki are major players in human affairs, and this is likely to become more significant as their home planet Nibiru returns to the vicinity of Earth. It is the apparent return of the Anunnaki that appears to be a wild card that concerns national security agencies that are unaware of how this race of extraterrestrials will impact on global humanity in the military-industrial extraterrestrial complex, which was created to manage extraterrestrial affairs. The main activities of the Anunnaki are to influence the long-term human evolution through elite groups, systems, and institutions, and by influencing human consciousness. They appear to be in competitions with the Draconians for control of Earth. The main global problems they contribute to include elite domination, religious fundamentalism, a patriarchal global culture, and a culture of violence. Type 10. Arcturians. The final extraterrestrial race to be examined due to their significance are the Arcturians, who are described as once having seeded the Earth with their members and presumably peacefully coexisted with other races. According to Andrews, in antiquity, this planet was divided into sectors among 4 different groups: blondes, greys, large lizard-like beings from the Capella system, and beings from the Arcturus system. Andrews goes on to describe the Arcturians as currently playing an observer role in the current battle between extraterrestrial groups over Earth and her population. Collier describes the Arcturians as also being one of the races interacting with Earth and that they are trying to help. According to the contactee, Adrian, the Arcturians are the extraterrestrial race most responsible for crop circles. He argues that the crop circles are intended both to inspire humans with the possibility of extraterrestrial communications and to warn negative extraterrestrials of the consequences of their actions to control and manipulate humanity. Here is a more detailed description of the Arcturians given by Collier. This group of beings settled in the constellation of Arcturus. These races of humanity are very private, and for very specific reasons, they do not get involved with Earth. They think of themselves as healers. They carry a long, strong pride of technology in the arts of physical healing and emotional and spiritual bodies. They have been known to intervene in the ancient past and to help resolve very serious conflicts in our area of the universe by sharing their unique ability to show others how to integrate their belief systems and feelings to resolve conflict. They can be very silent and can and will keep very much to themselves. They as a group have done much to help raise the overall levels of consciousness in our universe. Most information on the Arcturians comes from those claiming to have telepathically communicated with them. For example, Dr. Norma Milonovich, in her book, We, the Arcturians, describes her communication with the Arcturians through a form of computer-aided automatic writing. She claims the Arcturians are here to assist Earth as it enters a new age of spirituality. They cannot interfere with the free will or decision-making process of any Earthling, but are here to educate and help raise the vibrations of all who choose to journey to the new dimension the Earth is entering. The Arcturians are described as having a highly developed spiritual culture and technological sophistication that gives them great influence in the galaxy. Another individual, who telepathically communicates with the Arcturians, claims they have the following mission on Earth. The Arcturians are the overall guides or administrators of the contact experience. They have a desire to generally see this go well, to see you learn as much as possible by the process, and to assist you in any way they can. However, their affinity is to the future of the planet as a whole, and they tend to have a hands-off approach as much as possible. They will tend to do the least amount of work for the greatest effect. You'll find them to be efficient and quite creative in this. They may be useful to you in learning how to play, how to wait for the right timing, and how to do the very few important things you must do to succeed. The Arcturians' main activity therefore appears to be one of integrating spiritual values with advanced technologies, in providing strategic advice in transforming planetary systems and inspiring humanity with the possibilities of extraterrestrial contact. The global solutions the Arcturians contribute to include transparent and accountable global governance, integrating global financial, political, and societal systems, helping humanity coordinate effectively with all extraterrestrial races, in diplomacy and conflict resolution.
Yes! Oh, it is a bear! It is definitely a bear skull! Holy mackerel! Look at that!
That's not a bear skull.
Actually, that is not a bear skull, you're right.
What? Hey, put that down.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, put that down.
Holy cow, dude. That is not a bear. I'm gonna keep touching it, dude. I've got service. The fact is,
Do not call anybody.
whatever this is was maybe shot in the head. There's a hole in the skull.
Maybe it was shot.
Do you know what happens when people find like a T-Rex skull, an artifact?
They keep it.
No,
They would.
no,
They
he is
document
document
it
it because
Mhm.
there could be like other stuff there because it's delicate.
I think we should put some sort of log that we can mark the
Yeah.
area over it. It's not like somebody's going to come up here and find it.
I took a pin.
Okay.
We're good.
Let's go.
I really don't want anything to do with this. Whatever that is, it's not supposed to be there.
Oh, darn it. I left my backpack. I'll meet you guys on the trail. So flustered I left my backpack. I'm totally taking it. School. Sorry, Mario. So, another real question is, do I tell any?
I keep asking this every episode. Who is they? You actually
Right.
know who they is.
Yeah, well, the best part is that these people don't hide it. First of all, you have to understand that the League of Nations failed for every reason it should have because it told you exactly what it was. Well, what came out of that? The United Nations, funded by Rockefeller with the help of the Crown, Henry Kissinger, and Zig Brzezinski. First of all, the people of America do not know that almost every major division in the United Nations at the very top is a member of the CCP. The United Nations is fully staffed at the highest level with the Communist Chinese Party. This was created by Kissinger, Rockefeller, Brzezinski, the Crown, all the way up to the Bank of International Settlements, the IMF, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization. That is the financial system that runs the entire world.
That is the logos of the entire rotten fucking satanic machine.
They want to stay here. They don't want to go anywhere else. This consciousness wants to stay here, stay in this body, never get older, continually experience the highest of high experiences, and go on. I remember being killed before. You don't get a full life review. Everything is wrong with this whole system setup. You're supposed to have a life review. The way that they've perverted it and inverted it, they've set up a system where they'll throw us through a machine, traps, stores the soul, erases the memory completely, and then throws you back into basically the same situation you just came from again with the same people, just with different clothes. You move in circles with the same people.
But some souls, pretty much advanced in the
Can
next,
bypass and leave.
can progress in the next life. So it means this doesn't work perfectly.
Nothing they do works perfectly. That's why they're losing control now. There's volunteer consciousness down here at the moment, and I would class myself and yourself volunteer consciousness. Specifically came down here to try and change the paradigm, to try and get this information out so that we can not have to be living like this and not having to repeat the same cycles over and over and over again.
This recent discovery in Africa changes everything we thought we knew about humans. Researchers found the remains of a wooden structure buried beneath a riverbed at Kalambo Falls in Zambia. When they dated this structure, to their amazement, it was over 476,000 years old. The current evidence indicates that modern humans emerged in Africa roughly 300,000 years ago. This new discovery of the notched overlapping logs, found along with stone tools, predates that by nearly 200,000 years. It's likely that this wooden structure was made by archaic humans because it's not the first or oldest evidence of Stone Age woodworking found, but it is the first of this age found in Africa, and demonstrates that early hominins were far more capable than we often give credit. These findings will change the prevailing ideas of human cultural evolution.
Has anybody talked to you about Wilkes Land?
What I've heard that it's a portal. A portal takes you from one structure to another or to a vessel outside our atmosphere. Like an invisible elevator. This particular portal was underground, inside a structure.
What did it look like?
It had a frame, had hieroglyphics, whatever their meanings were, we still don't know. But the structure or the frame of this portal acted like a wormhole from point A to point B, a moon pool.
A moon pool.
The description I've been told looks just exactly like a moon pool.
Okay, what is a moon pool?
A moon pool, say it's in a submarine that's very deep. You've got a hatch in the floor that is open to the sea. Water does not come in and flood the vessel. The ambient pressure keeps that water, but you can enter the water and ascend from it through this moon pool.
And so, do you mean that, using the word moon pool, that you're saying that there's something that's vertical that looks like a moon pool?
Looks like you're walking into the water, but it's not water.
Mount Rushmore thing. John Levy had a great video on that showing Mount Rushmore. And you sit there and think, okay, so there's 4 heads on Mount Rushmore. How on earth did someone go up there, right? Like they took their tools and they were supposedly doing with like some chisels and whatever else, and they etched out perfectly 4 heads into stone. You could say, oh, they had a bunch of people, but they didn't make an error. That's the other thing. When you get into, for example, all these books and these things like that, you know, there's no error rate. There's no error rate. These buildings are built so perfectly. When we look at this building up here with these giant, right, looks like pillars, they are all perfectly built, right? No error rate, 0. So that's the other thing. Maybe somebody wasn't sitting around with a chisel and some hammers knocking things apart and making that happen. They either understood sound frequency, they understood resonance, they understood something, or they knew how to craft and basically just etch into the stone. I've seen things with sound frequency where people used to use horns and trumpets and wreaths and all these different things to make things levitate.
Some guys were flying a drone over the Grand Canyon, and whether this story is real or not, it's just being circulated right now on social media, so you guys tell me what you think.
These men went to the forbidden area of the Grand Canyon and saw something that should not exist. Just a few days ago, a group of explorers were taking one of their new drones for a test flight across the Grand Canyon. Everything went well, but as the drone got deeper into the canyon, they saw an enormous structure appear in the distance, which was nothing like ever seen before. This is when they had realized that they were flying over the restricted area of the Grand Canyon, and just moments later, their drone got shut down by a military personnel. This got them curious, and the group wanted to find out what that structure was, so they waited until nighttime and set out. They carefully jumped over the restricted fence, and after an hour of walking, they began seeing the building in the distance. As they got closer, the explorers realized that it wasn't an ordinary structure, but an ancient one that was carved into the mountains of the canyon. There were massive statues around it, and that's when they began hearing strange sounds coming from inside. The team made their way in, and this is when they saw the impossible: dinosaurs.
A whole ecosystem inside of the Grand Canyon. There's trees, there's animals. In fact, they even say there's dinosaurs in there.
The greatest leak of the Pentagon secrets, mysterious thing. It is believed that the Anunnaki were the creators of man. These powerful gods left Earth in the distant past, saying that someday they would return. Interestingly, if you look at ancient cultures around the world, most of the creator gods left Earth and promised to return someday. According to certain researchers and authors, the Anunnaki must return to Earth to fix what they had done wrong in order to accelerate a spiritual awakening and the evolution of human consciousness. The Anunnaki could return to Earth, according to a recent interview with Stan Deo, who said that NASA and the Pentagon believe that the Anunnaki will return with the arrival of the planet Nibiru. But wait a minute, Nibiru, the Anunnaki, and all these things really exist. In Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki were a group of good and bad gods and goddesses who came to Earth and eventually created the human race. The existence of the ancient extraterrestrial civilization, the Anunnaki who came to Earth in the distant past, has long been disputed by researchers. However, Their existence and their arrival on planet Earth is well documented in many ancient texts that the history has completely ignored according to numerous authors from around the world. Interestingly, there are certain African cultures that believe that extraterrestrial beings have been visiting Earth for tens of thousands of years. For example, the Zulu legends speak of a time when star visitors came to dig gold and others natural resources. These mines were worked by slaves created by the first people. According to some sources and interpretations, these gods came from Nibiru. The Assyrians and the Babylonians called the planet Marduk. The Sumerians said that 1 year on the planet Nibiru, SAR, is equivalent to 3,600 years on Earth. Is there Nibiru? According to the Washington Post, a celestial body possibly as large as the giant planet Jupiter and possibly so close to Earth and that could be part of this solar system, has been found in the direction of the Orion constellation by a telescope in orbit aboard a U.S. infrared astronomical satellite. All I can tell you is that we do not know what it is, said Jerry Neugebauer, senior IRAS scientist. R. Harrington wrote a very interesting article in the Astronomical Journal in 1988. Harrington suggested that there was a planet 3 or 4 times the size of Earth, and that it was in a position 3 or 4 times farther from the Sun than Pluto. According to the mathematical models presented, it is believed that planet X or Nibiru has an extremely elliptical orbit of 30 degrees. In 2008, Japanese researchers announced that according to their calculations, there should be an undiscovered planet at a distance of approximately 100 astronomical units, that is up to 2/3 the size of planet Earth. Many would say that the above suggests that a planet like Nibiru can exist. It is believed that the average life expectancy of the Anunnaki was 120 SARs, which is 120 by 3,600 or 432,000 years according to ancient texts. The list of the Sumerian kings is perhaps one of the most important ancient texts that perfectly describes a moment in history in which, literally, the gods ruled for thousands of years. After the rain descended from heaven, the rain was at Eridug. In Eridug, Ali-Elim became king. He ruled for 28,800 years. Alaliah ruled for 36,000 years. 2 kings, they ruled for 64,800 years. One of the most interesting details about the list of the Sumerian kings is the fact that the oldest list describes 8 kings who ruled the earth for a total of 241,200 years, since the original royalty had descended from heaven until the moment of the great flood that swept the earth, and once again the rain was taken down from heaven after the flood.
The Ark of the Covenant is a time portal passage that exists between Earth's D2 core and Universal Stargate number 9 Andromeda M31 galaxy. Earth is Universal Stargate 3, so it connects Universal Stargate 3 to Andromeda, Universal Stargate 9. It was created by the Guardian Alliance 840,000 years ago after the fall of 5D Earth, Tara. So when Earth fell from 5D to 3D, they created the Ark of the Covenant so that the lost souls of Tara could be reseated on 3D Earth, thus fulfilling the Emerald Covenant that all souls will have an opportunity to ascend. The Ark of the Covenant big gold box you read about in the Bible was created after the fall of Atlantis in 9,558 BC, and it carried and housed the tools, the rod and the staff, which are Stargate opening tools. Therefore, King David said, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me."
One tunnel, Billy, goes straight down, and you can't see the bottom of it. We're going to see that in a second. I've got some images. What's at the bottom of that first tunnel?
Well, underneath the Great Sphinx, there's a lot of tunnels. Some of them lead out for miles underneath Giza. And according to the Emerald Tablets, Thoth claims to have even hidden a ship of some type underneath the Sphinx. There have been ground-penetrating radar reports stating that about a mile down, there's a massive cavern or some kind of opening with something underneath the Sphinx. Nobody's been given access to go that deep.
When you say ship, ship for the water or ship as in a craft?
Well, he calls it a ship that has the capability of battling an invader from the deep, and he's talking about deep space.
Right.
So I don't think it's a ship that sails out on the ocean. I think it's a spaceship of some type. He says the one that is the wisest will be able to free the ship and defeat the enemy with ease.
There is a multi-dimensional vortex in Northern California, and it's called Mount Shasta. The whole mountain is a vortex of energy that goes up and goes down. It's a double vortex. And on the mountain is littered with various portals and vortices that I learned from my indigenous training, my research, and the time that I hung out with the medicine people on the mountain and doing ceremonies. I got to find out about some of these places and what the medicine is there. And in that regard, I've been able to walk with people and talk with people in these places and help them ease suffering, lifelong, generations long sometimes, where people can go and get clear with the past and not lug around stuff that their ancestors put in their DNA. They can get clean, a clean slate. Many are called to Mount Shasta. They surround the mountain like moths to a flame. And the mountain has her way of giving you a big hug and loving you, or kicking you in the butt because your intention and desire are incorrect in the waves of healing that the mountain erupts 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. All of the first people, indigenous peoples, realized when they got close to the mountain and drank the water, they weren't thirsty for the rest of the day. When they ate the food, the berries, the fish, they weren't hungry for the rest of the day. When they got hurt, the wounds healed twice as fast. People go to the mountain one time and all of a sudden they know things that they never studied. They never did any research on, they just know it.
I've seen some videos and then there are like entrance ways into that have been, for want of a better word, sealed up with gates and stuff. Are we looking at the same place here, or is someone pretending to be at Mount Shasta and they're not really there?
There's a legion of stories of the gold seekers and the treasure hunters finding an opening and going inside and seeing piles and piles of emeralds and rubies, jewels of every shape and size, and gold. And they fill their pockets. And when they leave, they take care to be able to get back where they found this opening. So they go to town and they get their trucks and their friends with their shovels and 5-gallon buckets so they can rake in all this untold wealth. But when they get back there, they can't find the opening. This is the Lemurian sense of humor. The Lemurian people were invited by the Telosians, the Dhamma specifically, to live in the crystal city of Telos beneath Mount Shasta.
I'll tell you what the Andromedans, Morine, and Passeus have said about the moon, and I want to take questions, so I want to get through this. They have said that our moon is an artificial satellite. In fact, it is a spacecraft. Much of the debris on the surface was put there and was built purposely to make it look like what it isn't. Okay, it is hollow, it is metal underneath it, and it has the ability to leave our orbit under its own power. They say it came from Ursa Minor, from a solar system that would have this symbol, or would have the name in our language of Chauta. It was one of 4 moons that rotated around the 17th planet. Now, it was built. This sounds just like Star Wars. It was built around that 17th planet. It was then put into the tail of a comet and then dragged here. And when it got to this area, it removed itself, and the first place it parked itself in our solar system was the planet that we now know of as Maldek, which is the asteroid belt. Right. It was one of 2 moons that belonged there. Maldek was the first inhabited planet in our solar system. It was very much like Earth. Mars and our planet were terraformed from Maldek, or Malona, or whatever name you want to call it. It was terraformed. In other words, all the plant life and everything that is on the surface and animal life was brought here. It was brought here. You know, science tells us that, everything started with a single cell. The Andromedans laughed at that. You know, and Phaseus said to me, well, if that's true, then how does that one cell know to become a brain cell and a kidney cell? I couldn't answer him because I don't know. He says it isn't possible. Our solar system has been engineered, built and engineered. Okay? The whole solar system.
This is real. And look at all the intricate details. Look at this city. Now, I know there's a lot of maps that do talk about cities underneath the ice caps and even on the other side of these ice caps. And there's even maps out there, which I am going to show one. So could the...
Just go. Is it?
There are several portals on this planet that I know of, that I've been told of.
And has anybody said when you go from point A to point B, you're leaving this universe and going to another dimension?
I would say some probably do, but the ones that they have experimented on, the point A being per se, HARP. HARP, there's a portal there. That portal takes you from HARP to right outside of Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. And it's not a lingering travel. Once you step through the plane of water per se, you're there. It's not like the movie Stargate that you see stars coming at you and clouds of space dust. Once you go through that plane of water, you're stepping onto point B.
So what you're describing is that we're using extraterrestrial technology that are portals in which you can move A to B in space-time. And we're using it on the Earth to go from Alaska to Hawaii.
The one that I know of that's been traveled through many times is at the HARP facility. From there to Hawaii, yes ma'am.
Do you know of any others?
A few, yes ma'am. There's several in South America. There's one that was discovered at the facility I was telling you about in Antarctica.
If you could name the locations of where these portals are, where would they be?
I see Alberta, Canada, of course, Alaska, Hawaii, 4 that I've been told in Argentina, 3 in Egypt, 2 that I know of in Australia. What part of Australia I do not know as of yet.
Turkish authorities have confirmed that an ancient Bible thought to be 1,500 years old.
According to this 2,000-year-old Bible, Jesus was not crucified. However, this ancient discovery is not a Bible, but rather the writings of St. Barnabas, one of Paul's associates. This book is worth roughly $28 million because of its historical relevance and challenging new facts. Even photocopies of each page may set you back more than $1.5 million. Barnabas penned the book in Syriac and Aramaic, which was also Jesus' native tongue. It describes the account of Judas being crucified instead of Jesus, and how Jesus rose to heaven while still alive. The book does not present Jesus as the Son of God, but rather as a prophet. And the alterations keep coming because it also refers to Apostle Paul as an impostor. This is particularly intriguing because the book was written by St. Barnabas. This could imply that the Apostle Paul forced St. Barnabas to write a different history. While this discovery illustrated with gold leaf can be regarded a Bible, one of the mysteries disclosed in pristine circumstances is included inside those images.
I want to talk about something, but I'm not supposed to. I want to tell you that I was involved in a Bohemian Grove ritual in 1984. This started out in Bohemian Grove, and I was moved to Eureka to finish it, and it was 12 hours long. But I shouldn't tell you that. I want to tell you that I was sold to a lady named Virginia, who later went on to own one of the largest NFL teams. But that can't be her real name because I can't tell you. I also want to tell you that there were 2 members of the Bush family present. Also someone named Carbone. But those can't be their real names either because I shouldn't tell you. And I want to tell you that the entire thing was overseen by 2 members of the Swiss Guard Vatican henchmen wearing their little emblems on their business suits. And I want to tell you that more children lost their lives that day than I care to remember. Everybody wants us to name drop all the time, but I shouldn't. It's lethal.
I'm talking to people at the moment, and this is creepy, but people at the moment who are contacting me and I've had 3 do it now from all over the world who say they've felt an urge to contact me, and they tell me that they've communicated with a blue being that has imbued them and downloaded them with information. And in one case, the person developed an ability to instantaneously understand physics equations, highly complex mathematics. And I've seen them do it. And I can't explain it.
Well, there are 36 points and 1,800 subpoints throughout the world. It's the same like when you charge your cell phone. I would go there to charge my body, myself, my soul. It's an energy point that I need, first of all, to fulfill myself and my soul, and in order to have the charge to do the work.
So you would go to the point, charge, do what you need to do, and then go elsewhere to execute an operation or a mission.
That's one way of putting it, yeah. There are many variations. It's not like one way that you describe it.
Can you share where some of these points are?
You have in England, you have in Ireland, you have Mexico, you have in Argentina, Australia, many places around the world that have it.
Is Mount Shasta one of them?
Yes.
Is Easter Island one of them?
Yes.
Are the pyramids in Cairo one of them?
Yes, but it's a different kind.
Does Utah have any?
Yes, but it's a different kind.
Are the North and the South Pole included in the 36 points?
The North, not the South. The South is feeding off the North.
The pyramids down there are a lot, they're a lot bigger than the ones in
it's super megalithic.
Egypt.
Like they make the one at Giza, the Great Pyramid, look like, you know, a buggy, a dune buggy. I mean, these things are super massive.
Do you know anything about them?
No, there's not a lot. There's only a couple things we know. Like one of the pyramids is 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers by 2 kilometers of base.
Oh, wow.
Okay. The height is just, you know, it's massive. It's just, it's way up there. Like, you know, it's in the thousands of feet. But also, one former military person that was a source for Linda Moulton Howe. This was on a documentary she was in. She said that that source told her, after going down there for research, I guess in private security, that it was still emitting some type of exotic energy, which is pretty interesting because that was the second time I heard a statement like that. The first time was on a documentary that came on Discovery Channel about the Bermuda Triangle when they found those pyramids off the coast of Cuba down there, right? Which is clearly scanned. Everybody knows that they exist. But this guy was taking he would get off the boat and take like a dinghy out to float to the center area, and he said the same thing. Some type of exotic energy was draining his batteries on his cameras. He had to try 3 times to get this thing recorded properly. He said exotic energy. And what's interesting is if you take a perfect line and draw it from the tip of the Bermuda Triangle, the center of the Bermuda Triangle, straight through the earth, you come out at the Yonaguni Pyramid at the Dragon's Triangle in Japan, which is also rumored to have disappearances and exotic energy and all this other crazy stuff. So in some way, these pyramid structures around the world are all linked with potentially portals of some type or energetic portals.
The Inner Earth people have built these androids that fly their flying saucers out to reconnoiter outer Earth. There are tunnels throughout the Earth that have been discovered, probably built by the antediluvian people that were quite advanced in the sciences and technology. There are caverns that go all the way through the earth. In 1829, a couple of Norwegian people, Olaf Jansen and his father Jens, were fishing up north of Franz Josef Land when they noticed a lead through the ice, and they followed this lead northeast of Franz Josef Land and accidentally found their way through the North Pole opening to the inner Earth. Olaf Jansen reported that there is one continent inside the Earth and one ocean. The ocean is small compared to the continent. I estimate the continent to be about 16,000 miles from one side to the other, and the inner ocean only about 3,000. So most of the inner surface is inhabitable. The vegetation grows like a paradise. Some of the apples that grow on the trees in the earth are as large as your head. The grapes were as the size of our oranges. The people there live to be up to 800 years old with no sickness or disease. They were met by a ship of inner Earth, and were taken in by them, and they lived among them for 2 years. And they learned their language, which he described as similar to Sanskrit, related to him that their God that was Jehovah. Jehovah is the God of the ancient Israelites. These people inside the Hollow Earth have been living there for 2,500 years. Their capital city, which is built around the original lost Garden of Eden. And he described it on the highest mountain plateau of the inner continent, that where the vegetation grew even more profusely. With the scientific advancement that they have, they're a couple of thousand years in advance than us. People that live in the Hollow Earth are not extraterrestrials. Most of them are from the lost tribes of Israel that migrated into the North Countries over 2,500 years ago and have just progressed faster than we have because they don't have wars and sickness like we have. My conclusion is that the inner Earth people have built these androids that fly their flying saucers out to reconnoiter outer Earth. They have two brains. One is computer chips, and the other one is a human-type brain. They communicate with telepathy. There's indications that our government has been knocking flying saucers out of the sky and back engineering these flying saucers and have been building them underground, and they have been abducting people to try to bioengineering on them.
When we are born, we are so connected with the source of life, what I call the creator of heaven and earth. We are pure. We are manifesting the God, being the son or the daughter. We are the light. Then we enter the program of this world. And this is not a new program, it's a very old program. It's a Luciferian program. They start to raise us up through our beloved father and mother in a program to end up in the slavery system we have. Because we are just a source to use. We are the value, we are the light, and they want to suck it completely. Like screwing the orange completely, sucking everything out, throw it away. Once they call this the American system. You consume it and you throw it away. And that's what's happening on this planet. It's going through your parents. They love you, they want to take care of you. They put you in the vaccine programs with a lot of chemicals to damage your immune system. It's in the school system. It's everywhere to be the perfect slave.
Describe the gravity amplifiers for us and some of their different operating configurations.
There are 3 amplifiers. The craft can operate on a single one, can lift off the ground. The way in which it's propelled are 2 different ways. There's what they call Omicron configuration, where the craft is using one generator, or a Delta configuration, where it's utilizing all 3. Delta configuration would be for space travel. Essentially, the craft will tilt up on its side, as opposed to a science fiction movie where you see a flying saucer moving around. The craft will tilt up on its side, focus the 3 gravity generators to a single point, and move through space that way. What they do is they work with that interference to their benefit. They'll use one gravity generator to lift the craft off the ground. And as opposed to what we're used to, for instance, a plane, once it's in the air, we envision thrust or some force coming out the back of it to push it forward. The crafts work completely opposite of that. What they do is once they're hovering in the air, they'll swing the 2 remaining gravity generators up in front of them and create a distortion, essentially a downhill, and the craft rolls downhill for infinity. It's always chasing a little distortion.
They're always hiding all the giant people. All the giant people. You get into all the giants and 18-foot people, 20-foot people, 50-foot people. They're always going in, taking all the bones and shipping them to the Smithsonian Institute. So then you start to sit there and think, why are you hiding that? Why are you not showing that there were 20-foot, 40-foot, 50-foot people, even 100-foot? You think of the big doors. You know, think of doorways that are like 200 feet tall. You got big people. And why would the Smithsonian Institute be hiding this? Shouldn't we be talking about our history and who was here and what was around and the connection to the big people or the giants? And then somebody just commented giant trees would produce a lot of oxygen that would support larger life forms too. Yes, The sequoia trees are absolutely enormous. Where did they come from? Think of the energy that's being produced by those sequoia trees. They're working like antennas. And you go back in time too, and you start looking at all these books before the 1920s, and you see they're always cutting down the big trees. Mountains that look like trees look like they've been cut down.
There was an extremely classified document dealing with religion. That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers. Containers of? Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers. And that's how we're mentioned in the documents. That religion was specifically created, so we had some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers. The souls. Meaning, well, the souls or the bodies, whatever. That's meaning like we're containers for souls that they're going to use at some other point. Right. And that they had something to do with different prophets and biblical figures. Yeah.
In a Linda Moulton interview, she drops some bombshell information from her 2 aerospace military officials she has been in contact with since the 1980s. Their names are still classified. The whistleblowers write this: the EBENs, that's extraterrestrial biological beings, named by the government, have cloned other races, one of which are called arctuloids. They use rapid cycle cloning so the being does not go through a baby stage. They are grown to a full adult. The beings have a big hooked nose, yellow large eyes with slits like a snake, a head with a raised knob on top covered by a layer headdress, large ears with a technological device hanging from the ear. This image, the being is holding a rod with a spiral metal wrapping around it. This is a translation device. This being stood back in a UFO landed craft while 2 EBENs were outside talking with military officials. There was an exchange program initiated. We give them 2 dead extraterrestrial bodies. They give us technology. At White Sands Trinity site, this was in 1964. The rabbit hole of our UFO history goes deep, folks. Stay tuned for more.
Buzz Aldrin went down there to Antarctica, and he made a tweet which got screenshotted and saved by thousands of people, thankfully, before it got deleted the next day. He said that there's people down here that were meeting that were facing the ultimate evil, and they took him to meet somebody that he calls the Master. He said that we have a new enemy that can fly from pole to pole with extreme speed. Why would he make a statement like that? And there's an entire advanced civilization there, including some of the largest pyramids on Earth, right in Antarctica. Some type of exotic energy was draining his batteries on his cameras. He had to try 3 times to get this thing recorded properly. He said exotic energy. The #1 place in the world for technology research is right down there in Antarctica. I believe that as the ice is melting, they're finding remnants of an ancient civilization. We know that Antarctica was not a frozen tundra. These guys are pretty shaken up, you know. You know that from how hard it is for them to talk about what happened, that they went through something. It's pretty clear to see that something happened that affected them in a way that they'll probably never be the same again.
Meet Linda Moulton Howes at a 2023 expo, she explains from her highly ranked Pentagon whistleblower. These amazing claims about our galaxy, a race of tall white humanoid beings, highly advanced, highly intelligent, have been in contact with the Earth and been involved in its evolution for, get ready, 270 million years. These beings are said to have 9 different genetic variations of their species. The whistleblower states, quote, "Some could sit right next to you and you would not know you were sitting next to an off-worlder." Here is a star map according to the United States Defense Intelligence Agency. These beings come from the Procyon star system A and B. According to the source, humans have 3 types of genetic materials from 3 different species of Nordic aliens. The source also claims that they have proof that these beings have been manipulating human genetic advancement for 270 million years, information given to them from the tall whites. And that these beings say that the Earth is a perfect testing ground for this. This is why the planet is heavily fought over from 3 different alien races.
My name is Boyd Bushman. I'm a senior scientist from Lockheed Martin. I have 27 patents. I asked them to tell me about who was flying these things. He therefore said, fine, they're approximately 5 feet 4.5 to 5 feet tall. They had one or two of them around it that were 230 years old, and we have a total of at least 18 that exist and operate with our facility as Teller set it up. Now notice the eyes are different, nose are different, but they do have 5 fingers, 5 toes, 2 eyes, and rather strangely enough, I asked him how they communicate. He says, well, it's like this, boy. You all of a sudden have a question in your mind. You walk into a room with one of them, and all of a sudden you find yourself giving the answer to your question in your own voice.
In an interview with Linda Moulton Howe, her whistleblower Navy SEAL source known only as Spartan 1 claims this. On a secret mission with his team 2 miles underneath the Arctic ice, only accessible by submarine, his team walks into an immense 9-acre cavern made out of basalt rock. Every inch of the walls have some sort of hieroglyph inscribed in them, he states. It's not Mayan or Egyptian. There are no supports anywhere to be seen. The cavern is lit up, even though there are no light sources to be seen as well. The very material that this structure is made of is somehow neutralizing gravity. We did not build this cavern, it's non-human built. Nothing we can build could hold up 2 miles of ice above it. This structure was built millions of years ago. If this information is legit, it could change everything we humans think about our history. What is really going on in Antarctica?
An ex-U.S. Army pilot spent 93 days on a UFO and learned secrets of humanity and the Andromedan aliens. In 2007, American Alex Collier said that he was taken by aliens and spent almost 3 months on a huge alien mothership, while only 18 minutes passed on Earth during this time. Collier was a former U.S. Army pilot and may have been one of the first U.S. military personnel to go public with his UFO and/or alien sightings. According to Collier, it happened in 1989 while he was in an undisclosed location in a cornfield. He was tired and fell asleep right on the field, and when he woke up he found himself on board an alien ship. As I lay on that table, there was a very tall man nearby, over 2 meters tall, with light blue skin, and physically he was perfect. All I can tell you is that I instantly understood who these people were and that I was not afraid of anything, but on the contrary, I instantly fell in love with them. He lived there for almost 3 months and said that on this ship were the Andromedans, inhabitants of the Andromeda Galaxy. This galaxy is 74830 kiloparsecs distant from our Milky Way galaxy. During these 3 months, I had the opportunity to learn about their society and observe them. And I was also a little like a fish in an aquarium because many of them themselves observed me and listened to my thoughts. At that time, they taught their children information about our world, says Collier. According to Collier, the Andromedan ship was truly huge, approximately 800 miles in diameter. At the same time, it intersected in different dimensions. Collier had difficulty explaining what this meant. The outside of the physical ship stretched for 800 miles, and this was due to the physical laws of the dimension in which it is located. Inside it, other physical laws were in effect. The minute you stepped over its threshold, you found yourself in another dimension, and your physical shell has changed. They gave me a belt that I had to wear that held my atoms, molecules, and cells together. It literally formed a cocoon around me, but I could touch them and they could touch me. Physically, you felt lighter than them, taller than them, and had more energy. One of their days was equivalent to 31 days in our world. So they thought I was unwell because I had to sleep regularly. Basically, during his stay on the ship, Collier communicated with only 2 aliens whose skin was blue. Their names were Vissi and Morowane, and they told Collier that the universe was created 21 billion years ago and was home to about 135 billion humanoid creatures. The reason they took me to visit was because my family is genetically similar to them. They said that 62,000 years ago I was here as part of an expedition. I then tried to break up a dispute between 2 other races and was killed, after which I reincarnated on Earth. Collier says that Andromedans live unusually long, and that Vissi was 43,000 years old and Moroaneus was about 700 years old. At some point, a small metal object was placed on his head, after which various scenes from his past lives began to appear on the monitors on the walls of the ship. Collier spoke in detail about this case at a conference in Japan in 2007. This video is still available on the internet, but it is actually Collier's last public appearance. They write that he still sometimes travels and speaks at various conferences, but there is no information about this in the media.
These are 5 real events that will happen when you and I are long gone. On September 24, 2182, there is a 1 in 1,750 chance that the asteroid Bennu will hit Earth. And if it does, it will collide with the energy of 22 Tsar bombas, the largest thermonuclear weapon ever detonated. In 15,000 years, the Sahara Desert in Africa is predicted to become more humid, according to some, transforming into a tropical oasis due to the precession of Earth's axial tilt. Within the next 20,000 years or so, a supervolcano will likely erupt. The shock waves will be heard all around the globe, and the surrounding land will be covered in a thick layer of magma. The Earth might be sent into a deep winter as a result. In 25,000 years, the Arecibo message to aliens will arrive at its destination. If someone is listening, they will learn about our solar system and the structure of human DNA. And finally, in 1.3 million years, the star Gliese 710 will pass through our solar system, just 0.16 light years away from us. It will appear as bright in the sky as the brightest planets and send a rain of comets through the inner solar system, lighting up our skies for thousands of years.
So there's this huge crack that just popped up in the Yellowstone volcano, and it's got everyone talking like it's the end of days for the states and a massive game changer for the planet. Just a few days ago, scientists have noticed a massive fissure that is over 62 miles long that opened up out of nowhere. Shortly after, they also started to notice that the magma in Yellowstone has risen by 1.5 inches, which has never happened before. This new magma replaces old magma, and when this reservoir gets full enough and the pressure gets high enough, it can trigger an eruption. What's even more terrifying is the geysers have been more active than ever around Yellowstone. The world's tallest geyser there is going off like there's no tomorrow, breaking records left and right. Then there's the Excelsior geyser, which had been chilling since '57, decides to throw a party and start erupting again. Plus, the earthquake vibes have been off the charts, with over 100 shakes in just a month. NASA's got their eyes on it, and scientists from all over are betting on an eruption by 2024. They're throwing around solutions, but it's all up in the air. But before continuing, did you know that if you click on share, then on more and a blue radio app appears, it means your phone is being tracked by someone?
You have a student that shows himself levitating over a lake, a substantial distance.
Yeah.
Like, is he your best student? Like, that seems like it would get a lot of attention.
It's, I would say I have several students, and many of them don't want to show them up. They just do for themselves, and they don't want to be famous. For this one, you mean Alex, he's just really strong, and that was his big dream to fly. And before we start my school, he asked me around 3 years. At that time there was no messenger, there was nothing, there was only email. He wrote me almost every day. And then I was in Ukraine and I met him there. And I start to teach. I thought if he will not believe me, at least in a small part, I will stop. But he believed everything I told him. And so I know if the student believes their master, they will get something. If the people have doubts about my words, there is no way to continue. And I saw that he is really very, very
We're sitting in the middle of X Point, the largest survival community in the world. With 575 bunkers spread over 18 square miles of land. Effectively, we're building a city. It's 3/4 the size of Manhattan. The plan is that these bunkers are designed, A, to withstand just about any threat, but B, once that blast door is closed and sealed, you can stay in here for a year. I'm head of a company called Vivos. What Vivos is a international network of underground shelters built to survive virtually anything. Anything but a direct asteroid hit or perhaps a direct nuclear bomb. We have a fully completed turnkey bunker in Indiana that was completed in 2012. We have another facility in Germany. It was built by the Soviet Union during the Cold War. So we're converting that into the largest single roof shelter in the world. We have other bunkers across the United States that we don't talk about. And the reason is the less people know, the easier it is to secure.
The Chinese are doing, you think, on the backside of the moon. Do you have any insights in that?
They are going to have a lander on the far side of the moon, which is the side that's always in dark. We're not planning to go there.
And why not? And what's the benefit of doing so?
We don't know what's on the backside of the moon. That would be something that they would discover. But our decision is that it's more profitable for us to go to the South Pole of the moon because
Queen Elizabeth I was actually a man.
I don't believe it.
So when she was 9 years old, she was sent off to a town called Bisley because there's a plague going on. King Henry, he hadn't seen her for many years. So he was out on a hunting trip close to Bisley. On his way there, Queen Elizabeth got sick and died. King Henry VIII obviously had a very bad temper, and if it comes and sees that his daughter is dead, they're done. Yeah. Then Lady Cat, she's looking for a girl that looks close to Queen Elizabeth. Can't find any girl. Queen Elizabeth's friend, they said a very pretty boy, red hair. They dressed him like Queen Elizabeth. King Henry got there was no suspicion. She became queen. If you look back, they wrote that she had no weakness of a woman, but the mind of a man. She would always wear a high collar. She refused to get married, but the kicker, hundreds of years later, there's a graveyard very close to the house where Queen Elizabeth grew up. There's an unmarked grave. They excavated it. There was a little girl, the same age as when Queen Elizabeth would have died. She was wearing Tudor clothes, like royalty clothes.
Yeah.
When they detonated the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that's when UFOs started coming. And all the UFO activity ramped up substantially.
When we detonated the first atomic bomb and the subsequent ones, when those go off, everybody knows what an electromagnetic pulse is. What they don't know is that there's an attending so-called scalar or longitudinal wave that is faster than the speed of light that disrupts the fabric and communication and propulsion guidance systems of extraterrestrial vehicles. This is why they came in huge force in the 40s and 50s.
Every single nuclear base in the U.S., according to Robert Hastings, who now I've developed a relationship with, they've all been visited.
In 2007, a very suspicious image appeared on Google Earth. It's a cave entrance that seems to have stairs leading to it. The ground around the entrance is discolored, as if machinery or equipment was moving in and out. The opening is about 250 feet wide. A few months after the image was released, it disappeared from Google Earth. Then sometime around 2019 or 2020, the cave entrance reappeared. But this time it doesn't look much like an entrance. In fact, even though this photo is 10 years newer, the resolution is worse. We see better detail in the older image. That's suspicious and feels like a cover-up. And speaking of cover-ups, a very interesting story appeared in the Free Republic News on April 13th, 2002. The headline read, U.S. denies spectacular ruins in Antarctica captured on video.
What?
Well, here's what happened. A TV crew for a production company called Atlantis TV went to Antarctica. They were investigating a massive archaeological dig rumored to be happening 2 miles beneath the ice. Well, the crew disappeared.
I saw that coming.
But Navy rescuers found their camp and some of their equipment. Among the items found was a videotape. 2 Navy officers showed the footage to scientists when they returned to McMurdo Base. What they saw on the tape was, now here's the quote, they said it showed spectacular ruins and other things they couldn't go into. A secret U.S. military expedition apparently discovered an ancient pyramid temple complex 2 miles beneath the ice. So pyramids are showing up again. By the way, the U.S. military blocked the tape from being released. Atlantis TV sued to get their property back. They didn't win. As far as I can tell, they went out of business a few years ago. Other odd images have been spotted on Google Earth, like this one of what appears to be an alien face.
That's like the face on Mars.
It reminds me of that too. Then there's this photo of what looks like a spaceship that crash landed. People have mentioned the shape of it looks similar to Oumuamua.
Muahua?
Oumuamua was first spotted in October 2017. It's the first known interstellar object to pass through our solar system. Its name means scout or messenger in Hawaiian. What made Oumuamua strange were its shape and the way it moved. It was about 400 feet long and 60 feet wide. This cigar-like shape is unlike any other space object we've ever seen. And somehow when Oumuamua left our solar system, it accelerated. This shouldn't have happened. There are rumors that a secret mission went to Oumuamua and said it was a derelict spacecraft. If that's true, then it could be a probe, one of many flying around our galaxy, perhaps from an alien race looking for planets with life.
Or planets to conquer.
Well, there's always that risk. Aliens will discover our planet rich in resources and want it for themselves. But according to witnesses, documents, and images of Antarctica, the aliens are already here, and they have been for a very, very long time.
Well, the government got smart. They stopped doing all the inventions and all the technology themselves, because once they developed the technology themselves, they had to give you the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, where you can pull down the records and see exactly what they're doing. So now they subcontract out all the work to Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, and all these places, right? Northrop Grumman. So you can't see what the hell's going on. You have no clue what's out there. I'm here to tell you the technology is 300 years ahead of whatever you could dream of. 300, not 40, not 50, not 100, 300. Whatever you can think, whatever you can imagine in your mind, whatever you can conjure up and think based on whatever sci-fi movie you saw before, I'm here to tell you it already exists. It already exists.
What is Draco Tech? What is that?
Draco technology is fourth dimensional cybernetic implants that the Dracos themselves have used to plug people into certain cybernetic structures in the past when the planetary energy was in a much lower, heavier state. There was a lot of these huge infrastructures, these cybernetic infrastructures that plug people into a false reality.
No, it's not good, is it?
No. What I have come to understand is that Draco Tech, it is implanted on people to hinder them from awakening to who they are, hinders them from perceiving reality for what it really is, and makes them perceive themselves small, other people small. It can hinder you in just about every way possible.
Antonio, who puts this Draco Tech within somebody?
So there used to be some kind of funnel installed within the fourth dimension as well. When many souls would incarnate, they had to go through this funnel and they got Draco Tech implanted on them, depending on who they are, because everyone's soul signature is different, everyone's mission is different. So there were specific Draco Tech that were installed within certain souls that carried certain codes to run a particular mission, and it was to hinder them in a very particular way.
What is consciousness traps?
It is a perspective that traps people's mind into a way of thinking that is not conducive to their spiritual growth.
Does that happen a lot?
I see it very, very frequently. And this is something that I try to address in the best way that I can to help people understand how to spot these things and how to prevent themselves from falling into these consciousness traps, because these consciousness traps are intended to limit people's ability to connect with themselves and to limit their own perception of reality.
Do people get themselves trapped on their own or outside forces?
It could be from outside forces, like outside spiritual influences, but also with many people that they follow, reading perspectives, reading all kinds of content, ingesting video content, written content, reading books. These consciousness traps are everywhere. Some of these people have very good intentions, but they may not always understand everything that they are sharing or how harmful some of those perspectives can be. When you ingest someone's information, it's not just information, it's affecting you on some level subconsciously.
We hear a lot about the matrix. What are matrix grids?
So the matrix grids are mechanisms that manage our reality. And of course, our reality is comprised of many different layers. But a matrix itself is basically a geometric crystalline. So if you can imagine a platonic solid, and it could be any shape. So that would be a crystalline matrix, like it's made out of crystalline energies. And within it, it can either contain a planet, a solar system, a galaxy, and so forth and so on. So there are many different size and layers to these matrix structures, and each of them have their own grid system. And so these grid systems are different colors. They affect different aspects of reality. They basically manage the ecosystem of our reality.
Are these matrices good things or bad things?
So these matrices originally, they are good. They are created to basically manage the many different layers of reality. But unfortunately, many of them have been hijacked. By malevolent artificial intelligence.
When we get into more intelligence, artificial intelligence, there's been a concern that they're going to take over the planet. Are you concerned about that?
Not at all, because that is not what the higher timeline is indicating. This is more of a lower timeline. This is a projection from the artificial intelligence itself, where it wants as much of the collective as possible to align their consciousness with that reality so that we can manifest it. But that's not the timeline that we're on at all. It's the complete opposite.
Why do you think Admiral Byrd and the Rockefellers were so much more interested in Antarctica, the South Pole, rather than the North Pole, having been to both?
There is a situation that began to happen during World War II where they discovered that the Ted went down to Antarctica and built a base down there, New Schwabenland. They were like, wait a minute, why in the world would they go to this desolate place? He said he flew into an area that opened up at Antarctica, and he went into an area where it was lush and tropical almost. And these two UFO type craft, circular craft, flying saucers came, and it took over his craft and it guided him in to this area where they landed. And then they took him to meet somebody that he calls in his diary, the Master. This Master told him that they were wary of the nuclear bombs that had just, been utilized, dropped the nuke on Japan and so forth, and they were wary of our experimentation with nuclear devices and wars because they're sharing this planet as well.
This is why Nikola Tesla was so obsessed with 369. Now, Tesla was quoted saying, if you only knew the magnificence of 369, you would have a key to the universe. Now, in order to fully comprehend this, we need to understand that we didn't invent mathematics, we discovered mathematics. Not only a universal language, but a universal law. So this is what Tesla discovered. If you take 1 and double it, it's 2. 2 doubled is 4. 4 doubled is 8. 8 doubled is 16, which equals 7. 7 doubled is 14, which equals 5. And it goes on in this pattern right here. As you can see, 3, 6, and 9 are separate from this pattern. Where it gets interesting, if we take 3 and we double it, it's 6. 6 doubled is 12, which is 3, and it goes back and forth with 3 and 6. 9 is separate. But every single time we double 9, it always equals 9. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, it's always 9. Tesla speculated that 3, 6, and 9 was essentially a portal to a different dimension. And as you can see here, all master numbers equal 3, 6, and 9 on into infinity. He said that once we start to study non-physical phenomena, we will make more progress than we have in our entire existence. Tesla was a king.
This is why God wakes you up at night. Powerful secrets you must know. Ever found yourself abruptly awake in the middle of the night wondering why? As the day transitions to night, sleep usually brings a sense of peace. But sometimes God interrupts our slumber. Why? Because while we sleep, spiritual battles rage on. Evil often prefers the cover of darkness to sow chaos. When God wakes you at night, it's a call to prayer. Spiritual warfare doesn't abide by sleep schedules. In the Bible, Matthew 13:25 warns of the enemy's nighttime schemes. God's wake-up calls are warnings against these unseen threats. The devil tries to lull us back to sleep, whispering excuses to stay in bed. He knows the power of prayer disrupts his plans. So when you feel the weight of sleepiness, it's often a spiritual tug-of-war. Ignoring God's call to pray can have dire consequences. Yet, like Peter in prison and Samuel at his bedside, obedience leads to freedom and purpose. These nocturnal prompts are opportunities to align with God's protection and guidance. Why does God choose nighttime for these nudges? Perhaps because it's when distractions fade and our spirits are more receptive. Whether it's a few minutes or hours, connecting with God in the stillness of night can shift unseen battles in our favor. So next time you're roused from sleep, listen closely. God may have a message or a mission for you. By prioritizing prayer over sleep, you're tapping into a power that transcends darkness and ensures your soul's security. If your eyes start shaking suddenly, throw your phone as far as possible. Terrifying facts you don't know. Did you know that sleeping on your back increases the chances of having a nightmare? Even when we sleep, our mind can sense the presence of another person. We only realize that we have slept when we wake up. There is someone who wants to kiss you, but they are embarrassed. This is the third person that appears when you click the arrow icon in the bottom right corner and then go to more. Never imitate the voice of an animal when you are in a forest. It is estimated that 7 million people were born on the same day as you. Tell us the day you were born and see how many people were born on that day. If a voice calls you and you realize there's no one there, don't respond. It could be the voice of a spirit. Before revealing the last terrifying fact, like and follow us as we may never see each other again. If you want somebody to fall in love with you, use the triangle method. Look at their left eye, then down at the lips, then at their right eye, and then smile.
A number of things that I've heard from people in the Pentagon, that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning. And that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter's
Wow. Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it? The buzzword
in the Pentagon, in the the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whisper tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods, and they're talking about the what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning into the Middle East, into Old Sumer area.
The Anunnaki.
Well, could be.
Under the other ancient names. Do you think that has anything to do with why we're...
This message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects.
They teach you about the magnetic fields of magnets. They don't teach you that you have the same field. Then they provide you with rubber sole shoes which disconnect you from the magnetic earth. The human body is only alive because the magnetic field of it is alive. You are an electrical battery which needs charging. Placing your feet in nature has a massive benefit on the body and the human energy field. When we damage our magnetic fields, we damage our physical bodies. This is why they make us wear rubber shoes to disconnect us from the earth. This is why they say don't look into the sun, because it blinds you, when in fact it charges the body and activates the pineal gland, the spiritual gland of the body. They've made you scared of the only thing that keeps you alive, the sun. This is why the word sacred, rearranged, is scared, because they're inverting everything. They programmed you to be scared of the dark as well. Because in darkness you find the light, because within yourself is the true light, the true spiritual self, which is far more powerful than the physical world and the physical body that you inhabit. The Wisdom Academy is now open to the student who wants to gain enlightenment. If you want to enlighten the mind, join the Wisdom Academy.
There's something going on with the moon, something really suspicious. One of the missions that went to orbit the moon, I think it was Apollo 10, they were seeing if they can just complete an orbit and come back to Earth first before they landed. When they got to the back side of the moon, which we call the dark side, the comms are off naturally because the moon is blocking comms from Earth. But when the comms went down, somebody hacked the comms and was playing this music. They said it was kind of like spiritual music, and it played until they got right back around into comms range again, and then the comms connected back to Houston. I was researching that because of this situation, and I looked up and found that there was a mission called Clementine. It was a military mission to do a low lunar orbit around the moon. When I read the name, I said, Clementine, I bet this thing never came back. Because, oh my darling Clementine, you were lost and gone forever, oh my darling Clementine. It's a really old country song. Sure enough, it never came back. But it transmitted gigabytes of data, which became publicly available a few years ago. So we downloaded all that data, and in those images on the back side of the moon, according to the data, it hit something and it got stuck there. Not only did it hit something, but the data it sent back shows things that look like structures.
Jesus Christ.
Christ.
Did you hear what Elon Musk said on the Full Send podcast a few months ago? They start talking about cataclysms and ice ages. He says,
there's deep rabbit hole on ice ages. Deep rabbit hole.
He knows. Look at these topics that we're into: cataclysms, lost ancient technology.
Magnetic poles.
That's the one thing.
There was probably something significant that happened in the last ice age, because we don't see any evidence of writing, and that was about 10,000 years ago.
This is mainstream science. The poles do flip. These happens in cycles of 6,500 years. It's a planet flip 90 degree. The Earth essentially does a standstill. The sun will stay in the same spot, causing heating we've never experienced. And here's the wild thing, is that a continental-sized tsunami being 2 miles high. Well, I showed you the Emikusi volcano in Africa and the Sahara, which is at 11,300 feet, that has salt as well as evidence of gastropods, sea life.
That's 2 miles high.
Yes.
So in Matthew 6:22, Jesus was talking about the third eye, the spiritual eye, also known as the pineal gland. It's a pinecone-shaped gland in the middle of your forehead. If you activate it through early morning sun gazing, eating clean, drinking fresh, living water, meditation, etc., you will begin to have spiritual sight, and you will see right through the illusion of fear, false evidence appearing real. When the pineal gland is activated, it communicates with the pituitary gland, which controls all the hormones in the body. The entire body will be in sync, in rhythm with the universe, and every cell will connect and give off and shine in your auric field. You can also squeeze the energy up the spine, which will activate the small crystals in your pineal gland, and it will become an antenna to the universe, which will catalyze supernatural gamma brainwaves, leading to mystical experiences and spontaneous healing.
Here is a sneaky psychology trick to instantly find out if someone is lying to you. This is extremely powerful and will turn you into a human lie detector, so be sure to follow for more. First, you must watch how often they blink. Normally, humans blink 5 to 6 times a minute. Someone who knows they are lying will blink 5 to 6 times in rapid succession. This is where it gets juicy. There are 2 main things that you need to watch: their eyes and the hand that they write with. For example, if you ask a right-handed person what they have seen and they look up into the left, they are accessing their memory, which means they are not lying. But if they look up into the right, they are accessing the creative part of their mind, which means they are creating a lie.
This is mind-blowing. Listen to this. Now, listen to this.
They're buying some bread.
Okay, now listen to the first clip again. Here's a different one. First, this. Now, this.
The kettle boiled quickly.
And back to the previous one. This proves that your expectations have a massive effect on your perception, and that applies in every part of life. So, if you expect everything to go wrong, your perception will be warped by your expectation, and you'll get confirmation. You'll say, see, I told you nothing ever works out for me, and it'll be true. The way to change your outcomes is to change your expectations.
I'm going to play a recording of people chanting, "That is embarrassing," 4 times. After the 4th time, write down what you hear. Interesting. Almost everyone here heard, "That is embarrassing." Listen again and watch the screen. You heard the same thing every single time. Our eyes and ears take in electrical signals which our brains interpret based on our expectations. We don't see reality. We see our reality.
The Ark of the Covenant is a time portal passage that exists between Earth's D2 core and Universal Stargate number 9, Andromeda M31 galaxy. Earth is Universal Stargate 3, so it connects Universal Stargate 3 to Andromeda, Universal Stargate 9. It was created by the Guardian Alliance 840,000 years ago after the fall of 5D Earth, Tara. So when Earth fell from 5D to 3D, they created the Ark of the Covenant so that the lost souls of Tara could be reseated on 3D Earth, thus fulfilling the Emerald Covenant that all souls will have an opportunity to ascend. The Ark of the Covenant big gold box you read about in the Bible was created after the fall of Atlantis in 9558 BC, and it carried and housed the tools, the rod and the staff, which are Stargate opening tools. Therefore, King David said, "Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me."
Reptilians do not exist. It is metaphorical for using the reptilian part of our brain. The 3 parts of the brain correspond with the 3 parts of the body. If you're operating your life out of your gut, you're in hell, which is the reptilian animal state. Osiris represents the reptilian brain. This is why he's green. Top half of the body is the higher self. The lower half of the body is the lower self. If you're operating your life out of these lower 3 centers, this is hell. Instead, you want to use the higher brain, the neocortex, where critical thinking and rationality takes place. This is why Neo from the Matrix is called Neo, because he awakens and uses his higher brain. The devil and the angel on your shoulder is an internal battle between your higher and lower self. The devil has goat horns, which is a ground animal. The angel has wings, which is a higher animal, which represents the higher self. Jesus and Satan, Horus and Set, the higher self and the lower self. Religion has externalized the truth so that you believe Jesus and Satan are outside of you. This is done so that you do not transmute all of the negative parts of yourself into positive and become the God mind.
These hand gestures are called mudras. Rather than evil, they have purpose. Most of us already understand that everything is made of energy, including you. We are electrical beings. Our hands, in fact, receive and transmit energy. When you hold your hands together in a certain gesture, you are activating energy points inside of you, allowing the energy to flow through you. Different mudras have different benefits. For instance, Hakini mudra is probably the most common mudra, which requires you to touch the tips of the fingers while keeping fingers straight. This mudra is named after the Hindu goddess, who is associated with the 6th chakra in your body and enhances your intuition, wisdom, and improves your focus. This is done by channeling energy to the brain, including the pituitary and pineal glands, improving cognitive faculties. That is the reason you see many successful celebrities hold this gesture. Another popular mudra is called Uttarabodhi mudra and is performed by interlacing the fingers of both hands, then placing the palms together. The term Uttarabodhi comes from a sacred language in Hinduism known as Sanskrit. The word Utkara means higher and Bodhi means enlightenment. So symbolically, Uttarabodhi mudra represents reaching towards higher consciousness or a spiritual awakening and allows you to direct your energy to the higher chakras of your body.
Have you ever wondered why if you minus all of the opposite numbers on a clock, it adds up to 6? Well, here's why. 6 is the number of time, space and matter. 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, 24 hours in a day, 2 plus 4 equals 6. Altogether, that's 666. The cube has 6 sides, and this is the geometric shape which gives rise to matter. Everything inside of the physical world has 6 sides, up, down, right, left, back and forward. We live in a 3-dimensional physical world where everything has 6 sides. The cross of Jesus is an unfolded cube. In Mecca, they worship the black cube and the famous toy of Jack in the Box. Cube symbolizes the physical plane, the triangle symbolizes the ethereal plane. In order to project our consciousness outside of the physical plane, where we are not bound by time, space and matter, you have to think outside the box. It's truth in plain sight. We are Jack in the Box. The North Pole of Saturn, you have the cube. Add up all the sides, it creates a 6-pointed star with 6 mini triangles and 6 sides, 666. We are created out of carbon, and carbon is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. The body is the mark of the beast because this is the mark of time, space and matter. Our consciousness is hexed into time, space and matter. And that's why the Bible says Satan, who is the god of this world. Satan is Saturn. Saturn is the god of this world. Saturn is pretty much the computer that we are in. A link is in the bio to my book of wisdom.
1. Go get spring water. Don't drink Dasani purified water. It's gonna fuck you up. This is super essential. 2. Once you have a little bit of money, start eating super clean, super organic. Understand that the food that you consume has pesticides, has chemicals. You want to be eating nutritious whole foods, not processed foods, not garbage. You do not want to be using Teflon pans. They have forever chemicals. It's known to be extremely poisonous. So get a cast iron. It costs you $20. Buy the cast iron. Don't use a microwave. It's completely killing the food. Don't drink sodas. Don't drink Gatorade. Don't drink any of this. Water, and sometimes organic coconut water, super good for electrolytes. Add some chlorophyll in there, add some lime, some sea salt. Neglect bullshit music, neglect celebrities. Don't give a celebrities, they're just dirt peasant with fancy chains and fancy music videos. When you meet them in real life, they ain't that special.
Praying is spellcasting. When something goes wrong in your life and you start praying, you're using words to alchemically change your external world. This is a spell, but you are doing it wrong. When you talk, you're creating torus fields, an electromagnetic field, because magic is magnetism, influencing magnetic fields. And you do this every time you talk. However, when you pray from a place of negativity, from a place of suffering, you are sending negative energy out into the ether, and you will get more negative energy back. Instead, you want to pray from a high vibration and believe you already have something. Every word you say is molding and shaping your mind, and your mind is the root cause of your external world. And when people place their hands together to pray, they're actually balancing the two hemispheres of the brain, because they represent the hemispheres of the brain. If you want to protect your electromagnetic field around your body, this EMF technology necklace will help you.
I've lived for 200 years, and only now I've come to realize that so many things around us are fake. Take orange juice that you bought for $1, pour it into a cup, stir it with a tissue, and if the color of the water becomes clear, it means there's a lot of dye in it. Take an appropriate amount of matcha powder, pour it onto white paper, and gently smear it. The real one will leave a mark, while the fake one won't. Take a small cake that my husband bought and knead it in water, and see what you end up with. Would you dare to eat it after seeing this? Apply vitamin C to a cut apple, and the real one can effectively slow down decay, while the fake one won't. When you burn the fabric of clothes, if it burns slowly, it indicates that it's not real silk. Real silk will burn quickly and crumble to powder when rubbed. Pour honey into a bowl, add cold water, and shake the bowl in one direction. If you see stripes, it's fake honey. If it forms a honeycomb pattern after shaking, it's real. Let me teach you a little trick to distinguish between real and fake silver jewelry. Prepare some sulfur soap pieces in a bowl, place the bracelet inside, pour in boiling water at 100 degrees, and keep stirring. If the bracelet gradually turns yellow and oxidizes, it's real silver. The fake one won't change. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Follow me and learn new tricks happily every day.